No, all I'm saying is, in the scale of bad, MK is worse than EFF, in my view. Way worse. And they have military capability.
You may think the DA is celebrating recent political defections, but in reality, they are not celebrating at all. The truth is, the Democratic Alliance, along with South Africa's white establishment, are more concerned about one man, Jacob Zuma. Today we are diving deep into the real reason why the DA, AfriForum, and groups representing white monopoly capital see Jacob Zuma and his MKP as a bigger threat than even the EFF's Julius Malema. Let's unpack why Zuma is assembling a new wave of change for South Africa's marginalized masses. It's easy to assume that the DA and its allies are pleased with the recent political defections from the EFF. That includes figures like Floyd Shivambu, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, Mzwane Lemanyi, and now Advocate Dali Mpofu. However, beneath the surface, there's a concern. Jacob Zuma's MKP, the Mkhonto We Sizwe Party, present a new and formidable challenge to their grip on South Africa's political landscape. Unlike the established parties, MKP brings a unique voice and mission focused on the real issues facing South Africa's poorest communities. This isn't just about talk, it's about action. Zuma has already begun assembling a powerful team of experienced and influential leaders ready to challenge the status quo. Many might ask, why Zuma and not Malema? Why would the DA, AfriForum, and groups representing white monopoly capital fear Zuma more than the economic freedom fighters? Julius Malema is well known for his fiery rhetoric, but for the white establishment, Zuma's MKP is seen as a more of a serious political contender. Zuma, as a former president, understands the levers of power, and his focus isn't on speeches, it's on changing policies to address the need of South Africa's marginalized masses. Jacob Zuma is working so hard to build a coalition strong enough to challenge and potentially reshape South Africa's constitution come 2026 and 2029. This is what really worries the DA and white-dominated organizations like AfriForum and Solidarity.
Loonies. The EFF will sell whatever snake oil keeps them in the game. And remember, they are less than 10%. They've stagnated, they've been humiliated. And Julius Malema, deep down, is a capitalist. He owns tons of properties. He's a member of the Ananda Club. His kids go to private schools. He wants to be one of the economic ruling class. Jacob Zuma is like this with Putin. That's where he got his funding from. No, all I'm saying is, in the scale of bad, MK is worse than EFF, in my view. Way worse. And they have military capability.
You know, you really shook up South Africa at the Business BNC 2. And you, at the time, nobody was prepared to listen. And you said, listen, I'll put my neck on the line. And I know you've taken a huge personal cost from it. Is this one of those moments where you're now saying, okay, the rest of you guys think that the EFF is a loony socialist, entrepreneurial party that, sure, Malema's rich, but how did he get rich? You know, it's like, follow the dots. And yet you're saying to us, a little bit like maybe what you did in 2021, that there's another side to this picture, or are you saying the lesser of two evils?
I'm saying the EFF is a lesser of two very bad evils. But what does that mean? What does it really mean? Jacob Zuma's money is direct from Putin, direct from Russia. I said this months ago.
Professor John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, is one of those who has stated emphatically that Russian money has been flowing to MKP. What do you say? Have you seen any evidence of this? And why would Russia even be so interested in MK, what scenario could they have had in mind?
There are several things. First of all, John Steenhuisen was then not the only leader of any party in South Africa to mention the possibility, or even being sure that Zuma's party was funded by the Russians. Mmusi Maimane said the same. He said that at least a few $100 million were spent on Zuma's campaign. And that this was a very sophisticated election campaign. And also Herman Mashaba said the same, that definitely there were a lot of money going into that campaign. And it is surprising for a new party to be so organized and to have so much money. From my friends in Natal, I heard that Zuma's party election officials, officers, were driving around in absolutely wonderful, expensive cars, and that they drove around to the smallest villages, that there were a lot of these cars, and that they drove to smallest villages where not the ANC and not the DA and no any other party reached. That their posters were everywhere in KZN, and that they were very, very visible. So this is a kind of a persistent topic, and the interesting thing is that the MKP never declared where the money is coming from. We all know that a party which has got more than 100 million donations which amount to more than 100 million, had to declare them. Now, Zuma and his comrades never declared anything. And IEC was asked about these donations and whether they have investigated them. And they said, no, we can't investigate because there were no complaints. And I don't know whether such complaints could follow or not. But one thing is quite clear, is that no paper trail has been found, and everybody was so busy with the elections that nobody even tried to find this paper trail of this money. No documents are known, and we don't know whether they will be ever found or not, but there is, of course, every reason for Russia to fund Zuma and his party. What are the what is its interest? Of course, they are ideologically very close, and of course, Zuma is an old comrade of Putin, and they met very often. And during Zuma's presidency, that South Africa, with the Russian help and Russian support, joined BRICS. And it is also true that it was under Zuma that an attempt was made to sign a nuclear deal with Russia, which would be a very beneficial thing for Russia, and I will return to it in a moment. And since then, with Zuma in power and not in power, and after he was demoted, and even after he left the ANC, there's no doubt that people who are close to him, if you think about Duduzile, Sambudla Zuma, if you think about his close comrades, they all declared on social media, in their posters, on their T-shirts during the campaign, announced their allegiance to Russia. Zuma's campaign even used the T-shirts where Zuma was standing next to Putin and they were shaking hands. I don't know whether you have seen that or not, but this T-shirt and people in it were all over the social media. So why would Russia be interested now that Zuma is not in power and he is very old? just out of old loyalty. I do not think so. I think that there was a direct interest. First of all, about this nuclear deal. You see, people who discuss it, and I must declare immediately that I understand nothing in nuclear power and nuclear plants and so on. I'm told by specialists that the model that Russians use for such nuclear plants, it's very advanced, and it doesn't, no parallels exist anywhere in the West, and they are very good, very reliable, safe, etc. So people are quoting the costs, and the cost purportedly for South Africa would be about R1 trillion. But you know what is interesting to me in this connection is not even the cost, because the conditions of Russia's deal with any country, and it has been building these nuclear powers all over Africa now. It has been building them now. It has an agreements with Zimbabwe, Mali, Burkina Faso, and many countries in Asia, global south. This is what Russia is now interested in, and where it is vying and fighting for influence. So the model of funding it uses is very interesting, and it is very beneficial for the countries which signed such a deal. The Russians pay 90% of the costs up front. They take all the expenses, building expenses, construction expenses, exploitation expenses. They provide the stuff completely. They treat it as their own property. There's no sort of participation on the part of the country recipient of such a power plant, except buying the energy. And it seems all very good, particularly if 90% are paid up front, and the repayments can be stretched over many years, even over many decades. But here is a bit of a catch. Yes, to build a nuclear plant costs about 10 years. The exploitation period is about 60 years. To dismantle it costs a lot of money, and it lasts for another 10 to 20 years. So even one power plant ties up the country which it has to Russia for many decades, you see. And what it means is very easy to understand if we look at Hungary, for example. Hungary lives of Russia's energy. About 40% is provided by Russian nuclear energy in Hungary. And that means that whether it likes it or not, it has to support Russia. It depends on its benevolence. It depends on how much energy it will get. It depends on entirely in how it looks at the world and how it behaves through these eyes. And that is why Hungary said very clearly that it is not going to support any sanctions which the Western Alliance has the Western countries has declared against Russia in connection with its invasion of Ukraine. So that is where we stand. Good nuclear energy. If you want it, then you tie it, that country which gets it. You are tied, you have to realize that you are tied to a particular kind of policy. You are tied to a particular mode of behavior for many, many, many decades. You can't get out of it. So I think that by supporting Zuma, what Russia could, if it did give this money, and it's highly probable, I think, that it did, what could it hope to achieve? I think that it couldn't count on just Zuma returning to power as president. And I don't think that it could count on outright Zuma's victory. It would be difficult, and I think the Russians understood it. I think they also could see easily that MKP is not, how would I say it, is not quite well organized. We can see it from what happened after the elections, when they just didn't emerge for one set of negotiations, were late for another sort of negotiations, and they are already losing votes. I think the idea was to get the Zuma faction back to the ANC, to show the ANC that this is an indispensable element, and to return Zuma to the ANC and the influence of that faction, together with its love and support, politically declared support for Cuba, Russia, and Palestine against the Western imperialism, as they formulated it. So if that faction returned to the ANC, and particularly if they returned to heading the ANC, getting rid of Ramaphosa, then that would have been the best scenario. Because then the ANC would become the old ANC, where Zuma could dictate the policy, and where Russia would have a supreme influence. And this is, of course, against the context of the present divided world of the present day. So that's where we stay, and that's where the government of national unity must have been a complete disappointment for the Russians, because they treat the DA as a Western stooge and somebody who is completely a complete enemy of Russia.
The white monopoly capital. I think the issue to me is very simple. If you have a history of South Africa where the majority was deprived of everything, and this is what people don't like us to say, but it's a fact. It's not a manufactured story. We are not mad. We are telling the truth. And this is what, as a freedom fighter, we fought for. And we are not saying something we don't know. They took everything, the power, political power, which we now have, but economic power, the land, everything. When we say there is a monopoly, if you take, let us take the mines. People who dominate, companies who dominate in the mines, there are not many who really are benefiting. There are very few. Whether you go to gold or diamond or platinum or whatever, manganese or whatever, you will find the same companies in charge. Now, that means they are dominating. That means they are monopolizing economy. They are therefore the monopolies. And they are not black. The companies are not black. You have got companies today that are basically white. They start from the biggest commodities to the broom. Their names are written there. They are monopolizing every space of the economy. It's a fact. They are monopolies. I don't know why shouldn't they be called by what they practice. And I don't know why there's a debate, in fact. Because there is a monopoly capital, and in South Africa it is white. In all other countries they've got monopoly, it doesn't have color as such. But here, because of our history, it does have a color. It is white. If you look at the land, stretches of land, which was land that belonged to the majority.
президент, дорогой Джекоб, позвольте мне вас сердечно поприветствовать еще раз.
Mr. President, dear Jacob, let me once again cordially welcome you.
Мне очень приятно видеть наших друзей в Москве в дни торжеств по случаю 70-й годовщины победы в Великой Отечественной войне.
I'm very glad to see our friends here in Moscow on the solemn occasion of celebrating the 70th anniversary of the great victory.
Отношения между Россией и Южноафриканской Республикой имеют особый характер.
The relations between South Africa and Russia have a special character.
Это ведущий наш партнер на африканском континенте.
It's our leading partner in the African continent. We have to do much to make this organization an efficient instrument to develop our economies.
И у нас для этого есть все возможности.
And we have all the opportunities we need.
Во всяком случае, мы очень рады вас видеть.
Anyway, we're very glad to see you.
И рад возможности использовать эти встречи для обсуждения наших двусторонних вопросов.
And I'd like to avail myself of these opportunities to talk about our relations and to develop them.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Firstly, let me thank you very much firstly for the invitation. We have been given very warm reception and hospitality since our arrival in a nice delegation. And when it comes to the commemoration today, it has been one of the overwhelming good day and a big day for the country, but I think for many of us. I think it defines how the globe stands today to some degree, and I think it is very clear, and to have so many good friends coming together.
Это определяется, какой стоит мир сегодня. Это показывает за всем руководством мира, который сюда приезжал, что как Россия относится к другим странам.
To us, as South Africa, it is extraordinarily more important given our history with this country.
Для нас ЮАР это очень важно, посмотреть, какая у нас история с Россией.
And our relations now, and where we are looking forward to develop our relations bilaterally.
Как они сегодня и как в будущем в двусторонних отношениях.
I think this has been one of the days that defined the friends and relationships and everything. I think today it was more clear than any other day.
Сегодня такой день, который определит, какие у нас друзья, и все можно посмотреть, как все есть.
The MKP is more than just a political movement. It represents a vision for a South Africa where the historically oppressed can finally see meaningful change. Zuma's goal is to recreate a South Africa where marginalized communities have a true voice and where equality isn't just promised but realized. Zuma's aim is not only to bring the marginalized masses to the forefront of South Africa's politics, but to establish economic opportunities, social justice, and fair representation. This vision, if realized, could fundamentally disrupt the privileges that have long been protected by organizations like the DA, AfriForum, and others representing white monopoly interests. As 2026 approaches, Zuma and the MKP are positioning themselves as a formidable political force, with their sights set on constitutional amendments that could finally address decades of inequality. For the establishment, this is unsettling. They know that a strong MKP could reshape the power dynamics in South Africa, challenging not only political positions, but the very economic privileges that have long benefited a few. As South Africa faces these pivotal upcoming elections, we ask, what will our future look like? Will we see true representations for all, or will the same inequalities persist? Let us know in the comments what you think. The future of South Africa is in the hands of its people. Are you ready to shape it? Don't forget to subscribe to Inkari. It's time for more insights and discussions about South Africa's path to true freedom and equality. Together, let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching and take care.